Saturday, May 21st. So we got some updates going on here since my last video. Earlier in the week I got this trellis made. I had cages on there for a few days and whipped together this really easy to put together trellis system. And now I got jute cord that I'm hanging the tomato plants from. Now this is going to be a quick video because I'm about ready to get a storm. I literally just lost my son a few minutes ago, and these videos look a lot better in the sunshine, but we're about ready to go into a week of rain. You know, my plants were doing really good, and I was just giving them a big old heaping, the large size scoop of the Miracle-Gro, kind of like in my initial video in this series. And they were doing really good for like a week. Like most of this growth that you see happened in that first week. And then all of a sudden, and that was a rain. That was really rainy. And then all of a sudden we hit this heat wave. Early in the season, we're hitting records that, you know, have lasted for 200 years. We're in the 90s and it's stunning them a little bit. So you could tell they're a lot bigger than they were. I wish that Cherokee'd get going. I mean, I've had to do a little pruning and stuff, but you know, it was really a bummer. The one storm was so bad, it literally blew all my plants down. It was the day before I got cages on them. And it actually split this one right here. You know, that was my mistake. I was trying to get the healthiest looking, biggest, tallest plant. You know, and right off the bat, that one had a sucker that grew out on it, so it's a little harder to manage. But it split like a wishbone. I mean, I had a good 2-inch rip, so I used a cable tie on there, left it like that for a week, mounded up the dirt, and I snipped it off about yesterday. And so almost a week, 5 or 6 days. And it made a nice big ball. It mended itself. It's, you know, got a bunch of roots coming out. But at any rate, I'm hitting a couple birds with one stone here. So I got a 10-foot trellis. All these people doing these 4-foot and 6-foot, why do that, right? Big old trellis, okay? So I got my jute string, and make sure you use the 3-ply where it's 3 of them braided together. I'll go ahead and show you that now. As opposed to the skinnier stuff, that probably won't work as good for your tomatoes. And you can see I tied it up. I gave it like 6 wraps, so if I want to adjust it, I can. And I left quite a bit of slack, so they're not going to choke them, and they're not getting choked on the base. It's got a big loop that I could adjust if I ever needed to, but I shouldn't need to. But we'll see how this goes. So far I like them. If I could have recorded earlier, we're getting windy, and you could really see the trellis holding them in place. They were kind of moving around. It was kind of neat to see. But what we added here, I figured if I'm going to go ahead and make that trellis up there, let's go ahead and capitalize on space and do some vertical growing. So because I'm late in the season and I couldn't get my own seeds going, I bought what I could find. And I'm going to wait till they're a little bigger and, you know, thin them out. But you're looking at cucumbers on the left. I'm sorry. Yellow squash. Let me zoom in on that. Crookneck heirloom squash. And then we got the cucumbers. And what did I go with? Purpless hybrid. So they have actually taken off. So it's been what, 3-4 days on the trellis, and I mean, it's amazing how much those grew when I got them in the good potting soil. We're gonna have to change up the fertilizer though. They make their own nitrogen. Well, maybe not so much this, but let me go to the other side here. I planted a pole bean. And they generally make their own nitrogen. They can pull it out of the atmosphere. So when you do that, if you're adding too much nitrogen, they'll grow like crazy, but they won't flower. Again, it's already almost 5 minutes and it's about ready to rain. I got to shorten this up, but hopefully we should see some sprouts here in a few days. So I want to say I did 1, 2, 3, and I did 3 beans, 3 beans, 3 beans. And once it gets up there, I'll keep my strongest one. So it may be a lot and it may be overkill, but that's what we do here. You know, we try to push the limits. So that kind of gives you an idea. Trellis wasn't too bad. I used by 1x1s up there. I used a 1/2 x 4 for that strut that I made. And then same for the legs. 1/2 x 4. And then those same 1x1s. It was the cheapest that I could price out at Lowe's. I'm getting hiccups, sorry. Cheapest I could price out at Lowe's to try to keep it really cheap, you know. Actually, I'd say that box material right there is probably the most expensive. And I did not put a bottom on there. So if they can penetrate through my malnourished bottom soil, that's fine. But I got a pretty big box. Now that's 2 feet by about, oh, what was that? 11 inches? No, I think like 7 inches, 6 or 7 inches. I can't remember right now. But you figure each side panel is like 2, 4, 6, 8. And then on the other side, that's 16 feet plus your sides. I mean, everything adds up. But I'm about ready to give these some fertilizer. I should have done it earlier in the day, but I've been too busy. It's going to rain for like 4 days, so I figured if maybe before it rains heavy, if they could soak some of it up before it all soaks down. So like I said, that first week I didn't give any fertilizer because I knew the soil was fresh. And then that second week I just gave a big old heaping side spoon of the Miracle Grow. Then they started stunting because of the weather. And now I'm going to go back to my my normal regiment that I showed you in my first video. The only difference is instead of measuring it out, I'm going to go ahead and just use small scoops. So I'll go ahead and show you that now. But otherwise, let me get that in, and I'm going to try to keep these videos weekly so you can kind of see how I'm doing. But again, between the heat wave and having a lot of rain, you know, rain, tomatoes don't like too much rain. So, I mean, I'm sure we'll have an okay year, but I think we'd be a lot further along. Because they sure kicked off good, you know, and I don't think it's because they're over fertilized. I'm pretty sure it's because it hit 90 and that's what stunts them. Mrs. Karen for Big Blocks got her avocado plant planted. That one got too big to bring in last year. There's your root ball, and that one was in sandy soil. So my wife likes to grow avocado plants. This is about a 6-foot one. It's about 2 years. It made it through last summer. We brought it in, put it by a window all winter, and then put it back out. It's doing pretty good. I've been using the same mixture, at least this year. But what I wanted to show you I didn't wet the soil down yet. This plant doesn't like to be quite as saturated, so we keep it a little moist, a little less moist. Correction on that. But you can kind of get an idea of the kind of soil. See how it's kind of chunky and it's got a lot more solids in there? It keeps the drainage a lot better and it keeps it from packing down. Hopefully you can kind of see that okay. But that's kind of what you're looking for. Very similar to making homemade compost in a way. But if you'd like to see a video on avocados, let me know. That's my wife's department. Thanks for watching.